Hey, welcome to Page Break Podcast. I'm Richard Robertson, and my co host Brian is not here today. He's actually on a different podcast, and we're splitting duties today. So I've got Sasha Shillingford with us. We're excited to have her here. She's a new author with Genesis Publishing House, and we're just going to ask her a bunch of questions, and she's going to tell us all about her process. So, Sasha, great to have you here. We're excited. First thing I want to
Thank
ask
you
you
for
about.
having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, just real big picture, what inspired you to start writing? What was that aha moment for you?
So I've always written. I have haikus. I have stuff written all over in notebooks from years now. A few years ago, I rediscovered a live performance by my favorite artist, Nanda Maitreya, formerly known as Terence Trent D'Arby, and the song was a very poetic song. And for some reason, I had that song. I played that song on loop for probably 6 months straight, 24 hours a day. My daughters were getting tired of me and they thought I needed to be committed because they're like, that's not normal. The song was very poetic and lyrical in its prose. And there's a line in the song that says, every poet must have an unrequited love. And every lover must have thought provoking thoughts. And so I thought provoking fears, not thought provoking thoughts. And one day I'm like, I didn't care for the 9 to 5 anymore. And I just picked up a 5 subject spiral book and started writing. And 5 subject spiral books later, I'm like, there's something there. So, and then I decided to transcribe it onto the computer. It was a little less raw than the handwritten stuff. And then I gave it to a few people. One was a professor at George Mason University, and she's like, you've got something there. This is really good. So go with it. And that's how that has started. And I have so far written 4 books in this series, and I have started on 3 other stories.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answers the question, but
Yeah,
that
no,
that was how this came about.
that's awesome. So, and other than the song you just mentioned, are there any other storytellers or specific story? Is there someone that you credit like this really started to drive me? This particular story or this
Yeah.
artist I really liked?
So Thomas Hardy's Test of the D'Urbervilles. That was one of the first novels I read that kind of when I read it, it was so cinematic to me. I visualized every word on that page. I visualized the story. I saw it while I read it. So there was Thomas Hardy. I remember Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. That petrified me. I didn't sleep for days on end because my imagination is very vivid. So I saw everything and every cat and dog I saw, I'm like, is it a live one or a real live one? I love Rumi. I love Tagore. I love Chavez, Paulo Coelho, the Bronte sisters, Jane Austen, of course, Shakespeare, John Grisham. Um, who else? Maya Angelou, Kevin Kwan for the absurdity of affluence, and the list goes on. My influences are so it's as vast as my taste in music.
Yeah, so that's a pretty eclectic list. I also like a lot of the same stuff. I'll tell you the Pet Cemetery one that I was probably 16 when I read that, maybe 17, and it got me for a while. The
I
scene,
understand.
yeah, the scene that got me the most was the sister who had like the
Oh
spinal
yes,
issue or whatever. He wrote that.
my
I saw that lady in my dreams for like weeks.
yes, that was and because it was so cinematic and vivid that I couldn't stop reading because I was scared to go to bed. But then when I was finished reading, I couldn't go to sleep because I was petrified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's good like that. And you mentioned Jane Austen, so I've actually been to my daughters are huge Jane Austen fans, and so I took them to Mr. Darcy's house in England.
Wow, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. And Mr. Darcy now, some of Mr. Darcy's characteristics are portrayed in the protagonist, who is the male counterpart to the female protagonist. So, like, yes, so that's awesome. That's fantastic.
yeah. I've got pictures of there's a bust of the guy who plays Mr. Darcy in the gift shop. And so I've got pictures of my daughters kissing him on the cheek. Yeah,
Oh,
so that's good stuff. So how is your personal journey? Like a lot of authors write what they know, or maybe they write because things have influenced them. Is there any personal life stuff that you pull into what you're writing?
yeah. I mean, I think that has to, I think every author, whether they or writer or songwriter or poet or something, there has to be an element or something within them or their experiences that influences their writing. But with this one, I just started writing one day in this journey. Things that probably influence me is like the stories I read. I'm a logophile. I love words. I love archaic and probably esoteric words. So I love learning words and so once I find the word I'll try to use it and I put it down. So I just started and I started writing this book without a plot. There was no characters. I didn't have a plot. The story wrote itself.
Okay.
I yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that's harder to do for some people is to like find the story along the way. I mean, congratulations that you're able to do that
thank you.
because most people I think they rabbit hole too often, right? They think
Hmm.
they're on one path and then they chase a rabbit for a while and they realize that it's way off track. So the fact that you're able, we're actually going to ask some more questions in a minute on how you stay on track. Before we switch to that like tips and tricks section, I did want to ask one more thing on this big picture stuff. When someone closes your book, right? They've read the last page, they shut the book, they set it down. What do you want them? What's the feeling you hope you've given them? Like what do you want them to feel about what they just read?
I want them to feel validated. I want
Okay.
them to feel like no matter your lot in life, no matter your degree of affluence, humanity comes first. And I want them to feel good. I want them to get up and say, I want to see I want to read the sequel. No, I'm kidding. That's just a plug for that. But I want them to understand that no matter their lot in life, humanity, altruism is the essence of a well-lived life. So not eliticism, not exclusion, not exclusivity or exclusion. Just that they matter and benevolence. I want them to live and that book and say, I want to know what happens next. I want them to feel. I just want them to feel good.
Okay, that's an
And
awesome answer. I
there's
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so fiction, I mean, nonfiction and fiction do different things to people, right? I mean, you might write a
Mm-hmm,
book about how to fix 1957 Plymouths, and there's
mm-hmm.
a very, I almost made you spit your drink out. That
Yeah, all right.
there's a very specific thing you're taking away from that book, right? You're not reading it and
Yeah.
going, I'm going to change my life's course because of that book. So when you're writing
Mm.
something else, something that's not so laser focused, it's always interesting to me to hear what the author says they want people to feel. And then getting feedback from other people going, I felt that way. I mean, how cool is that? That you're
I
able to
know. Yeah.
you put something down on a page hoping to get people to feel a certain way and then after they read it they felt what you wanted. That's super cool.
Yeah. I
Okay, so
think that.
let's move into some tips and tricks on how to do this. I mean, very few people can sit down and fill up five subject notebooks full of handwritten stuff. So I think you probably have some wisdom to share. So if you're in that writing vein, if you're feeling it, right? You're in the zone like Jordan was when he hit 6 3-pointers against Portland in the first half, way back
And
in the
he
day.
had the flu. Did
Yeah.
he have the flu? Yes. Like. I know.
So when you're in that kind of zone, what does your
Hmm.
typical writing day look like?
So my the writing doesn't start at the day. I write best between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m.
Okay.
I think these are my power hours. So I would just get up and I think the reason I started writing on the pads was that I didn't want to turn on the computer and have that light wake me up and wake up because sometimes I think that a lot of the writing I did, I was almost in a twilight state. So I'm writing and I thought the first couple times I tried to start writing on the computer, I realized that it killed the focus. So I would get up and I would just write. I would be asleep and I would get a thought and then I would be writing and then I look up and I'm like, oh, holy crap, the sun is out. It's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock. And so I cannot say that I had a, but I would always have that song in the background playing. It was always in the background while I was writing. Or I would have some really old literary, like some noise in the background if it was daytime. But at night between 12, especially 2 a.m., that the sweet spot for me was between 2 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. So I would just keep writing, whether it made sense, whether it was grammatically correct. When I reread the sentence, I'm like, Sasha, you must be out of your mind to even think that that makes sense so anybody would want to read it, right? So that's how that I didn't
Okay.
have a I didn't have a ritual other than the music.
Okay. And I think the time of day is interesting. I hear we did a dual author podcast recently, and one of the authors said she wrote best from like 8 p.m. to midnight, and the other author basically said what you just said. Well, I write really good from like midnight to 4 a.m. They were like totally opposite. But I do think you just have to find your sweet spot. When you were
Yeah.
writing this book,
Mhm.
did you ever hit writer's block? I mean, did you ever like get hung up and go, "Oh, I'm stuck for a little bit"? If you did, how'd you deal with that?
So I have sometimes there are like sentences, you write a sentence or you write a phrase and you reread it and you're like, this is not conveying what I want, or this is not the right word. Sometimes it could be as simple as yesterday or tomorrow, like a simple word. And you're like, this just doesn't fit in there. So what I would do, I wouldn't fight it. I would just leave it and I would go and do go about my day, go about my business, probably not touch it for 2, 3 days. And I'll be driving down and stuck on traffic in 495, and the word hits me, and like, oh, there it is. And then I would record it on my phone and then come home and put it in, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that works. Or I'll be in the shower and I was like, oh, that's it. So I got most of my best one-liners and best thoughts came in the shower. There's something magical with showers and creative thought.
Okay. So we have some authors that I've talked to that when they hit that block, they obsess over it. And so
No.
you found some relief in not obsessing over it, and then it came to you.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting how everybody approaches that a little different way? But I get that. I understand it. I used to do public speaking for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I would be writing something and I would think, I'm going to remember what this would be in the late 1900s, way back. And I would be like, I'm going to remember that when I get home. And then
Yes.
I never remembered it. And then I would obsess over it for like days. And then sometimes it would come to me, sometimes it wouldn't. But I have that opposite kind of
Mm,
obsessive personality. But yeah, I love
yeah.
that. I love that answer. So if you were
Yeah.
going to
What
give,
I thought is,
no, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
go ahead, sir. No, I said what I thought is what I noticed is if I obsess about it, it just took me down a totally different, and then it would take me down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, okay, forget it. When it comes, it comes. There's no deadline. There's no rush. So what I found is the more I obsessed about it, the harder it became. So I just let it go. It's almost like surrendering. Like in life, you just surrender everything. If you believe in a higher power, you surrender and you're like, okay, it is what it is, and it usually fixes itself.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love that. I think that's helpful. So, from a practical standpoint, is there any advice you want to? So, we're going to have some
Hmm.
aspiring authors who listen to this, and maybe they're freestyling in a
Hmm.
5 subject notebook, maybe they're writing something clinical, nonfiction, whatever. But is there some practical advice that you would give them on finishing their manuscript? Before you answer, I want to touch on one thing you said that I think is super smart and is probably why you were so effective in how you did this is you would look at something and go, oh, that doesn't sound just right, but I'm going to leave it. And then maybe I'll come back to it later. I think creative people who try to also be editors end up hamstringing themselves a little bit because,
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
you probably don't have the editor bone built into you. You have the creative bone built into you. And those are different things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know if I spend half of my time getting people to understand what you just said. Like, that is every new author, I have to get them to go, just, hey, let's leave that part and let's keep writing, and my editor will help me. So, kudos to you for
Hmm.
figuring that out on your own. That's awesome.
Thank you.
But other than that, piece of advice, is there anything from a practical standpoint, use a number two pencil, drink Gatorade. What you have anything practical that you could throw at them?
First of all, don't set limits on yourself. Don't set limits. If you're writing something and you think you wanted to go in one direction and you started going in the totally opposite direction, go there. That might be something separate that will lead you back to where you are. Don't, like you said, don't edit yourself. Don't think about grammar. Don't think about sentence structure. Just write. Just write what comes to you. If it says the dog is purple or purple is the dog, write purple is the dog. If it says tomorrow is yesterday, write tomorrow is yesterday. Don't edit yourself. Don't try to make it perfect, because what you're doing, you're working with a in the rough. Essentially, you're working with a piece of coal, and it has to go through the pressurization process to become that diamond, right? So it's not going to be easy. Just keep going. Just bulldoze. Just keep going through that wall. Just keep writing. Don't think if you spell, like sometimes I try to spell the word witch, W-I-C-H or W-H-I-C-H, or check, C-H-E-C-K or C-H-E-Q-U-E. And then like I can't think, or Wednesday. And I'm like, don't worry. Don't focus on the details. Just go with it. Because you know what? You have great editors at Genesis that will help you fix that.
I think I'm tearing up a little bit. I couldn't have said that better myself. I'm going to send this clip to everybody. That was great advice. Love it.
Thank
Okay, we're
you.
gonna we're
Thank
gonna
you.
move on to publishing. Talk a little bit about the publishing process. Was there anything from working to the editor all the way through? Was there anything that surprised you that you were like, oh, I didn't really know this was going to be part of this?
With Genesis or in
Yeah,
general?
well, in general or with Genesis. Like, by the way, Vaviana's awesome, right? You're
Yes, she
Yeah,
is. And she thought she was heavy-handed with me, but she was exactly what I needed.
great.
Because like I was like I just kept going. I had words. I just kept going and writing and writing and writing. And she took I think it was almost 540 pages and brought it down to 238 or 300 and something, and lost nothing, and like no part of the story was lost. And so that's why you just keep going, I think. And that's my personal view because it's my journey. I think traditional the trying to go the traditional literary route is as archaic as acid wash. I think that it's I think that it's such a unnecessarily difficult process where it could be, because I think because they're trying to be so selective in what they're missing out on a lot of fantastic work. So I just think Genesis has made the process really simple. I liked Brian. This is my first time interacting with you. And just as Brian made me feel at home. Actually, when I first contacted Genesis, Brian was on vacation, and while he was driving he called me, so that told me that not only did my project matter to me, it was important enough for the folks at Genesis, to take time out of their vacation to answer my questions and to help me through the process.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, looking ahead now, what is next for you? What you going to write a sequel to this book? Are you going to attack some other avenues? What's on the upcome for Sasha?
I have finished four manuscripts. I have four more manuscripts since I'm finished with this story. So it goes from the beginning: boy meets girl, boy falls in love, get married, and then the second, which is requited love, honeymoon magic, that starts delving into philosophy, into politics, into the attack on the patriarchy, the attack on the um, absurd and archaic ideology of monastic life. If somebody wants to serve God and somebody wants to serve Christ, um, why should they have to give up family, give up family? So I think that this one. I like requited love, but honestly, the requited love honeymoon magic is my favorite this far.
Okay.
Then I have There's Requited Love, the family, the legacy continues because of the birth of children. And then, so I've written four in that, and then I've started two other novels, which I have not named yet. The one is based on, although it has romance in it, it's based on missionary and humanitarian work.
Okay. Awesome.
Just last week, somebody told me, because I told them what I was doing. They said, I think you should have been a nun I think you were destined to be a nun. Whoever talked you out of that ought to be punished. I was like, no, he was fantastic when he talked me out of it, so he shouldn't be punished.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to the next thing coming. I think you gave some great advice to new authors. Enjoyed hearing about your journey, because it's, you hear people most of the time say, well, I set a rigid outline and I stick to that outline every day. So it's interesting to hear multiple points of view. I think that gives people who don't function well with an outline, gives them some hope, because I think you hear that over and over and over again. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, I can never do it then, because I don't work like that. So it's awesome that you're
Yeah.
giving hope to some people that they can do it.
And especially the person, like, if you're neurodivergent as I am with ADHD, it's kryptonite. It's your kryptonite once you have rigidity as an ADHD or neurodivergent creative. So I just think that you do what works for you, and not what you think, or not what has been set out as the standard, because nothing works. No standard works exactly for the same person. Everything has to be tailored to your personal preference. And yeah.
That's awesome advice. I actually might hire you to work for Genesis. So yeah,
You should.
we'll talk about that offline. But this has been great. Again, this is Sasha Shillingford. Her stuff is available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. I will put the link in the description for the video and the audio. And this is Rich with Page Break Podcast signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.